Hello, everyone, and welcome to the live stream today. Trying to angle it just right so you could see the picture clearly. So, the topic of the discussion today was a question I was wondering for a while. I think there were people who asked Trump about whether he believes in God, all those types of questions. I heard different answers. I heard that Trump has a very wide range of beliefs. So I'd like to clarify that. I'm asking a question today, and the question, and I'm asking the people is Donald Trump religious? And so that's my question. And of course, welcome to the live stream, everyone who joins. Hallelujah. 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 Hello. Welcome, everyone. I'm a scientist, mathematician, astronomer. I look at planet Saturn. What a beautiful planet. Oh, the whole solar system's beautiful. Science and mathematics can really extend our lives. But let's talk about religion today. Donald Trump. Is he a believer? Is he a true believer, Donald Trump? Is he believe in God? Is he religious? What's going on with him there? And then the next question is let's say, I want to say thank you to Candace Owens. Candace Owens, really, she is going after France because France has been full of all of that evil stuff. You know what stuff I'm talking about. So thank you, Candace Owens, for going after France. France, the French people, they've been getting away with a lot of stuff for a long time. I'm from Canada, and we have to put up with the French. We have to put up with the French who live in the other side of, who live in Quebec. You have to put up. I don't even know which way the French are, but they're all I know is they're all over Canada, and they're annoying. So, anyways, we have to put up with French Canadians. They literally walk around and they're rich elites and they do whatever they want. They get away with everything. They're all connected to the judges in Canada, all the French Canadians. I mean, half of them are judges, the French Canadians. They literally, judges don't arrest themselves. Judges won't put their family in prison. You think a French Canadian judge will put his son in prison? No. He won't put his guilty French son in prison. He won't put his guilty French mother in prison. He won't put his guilty French friends in prison. The French Canadians, they get away with everything in Canada. They are a big issue for like hardworking English Canadians. The French Canadians, the rich elites, they speak French and they think just because they speak French and English that they're better than you and they get better jobs and they get all these government jobs. And of course, French Canadians, they only hire other French Canadians like they're bad. They're worse than the Russians, the French Canadians. You know, at least the Russians, they are a gang, but they're like, well, I guess they're the same as the Russians, but anyways. Well, the French Canadians are they're up to some sick stuff too. They're just like the France. You know, Candace Owens is exposing Emmanuel Macron and Bridget Macron in France. I mean, the French Canadians that like they're the same pretty much. Like anyone who tries to say that the French Canadians and the French people from France are different, no, they both speak French. They go to France constantly. French Canadians constantly go back and forth between France and Quebec constantly. And you're going to tell me these people are different? No. They are they are very much the same. They're definitely there are differences. Sure, there are differences. But I mean, in the same way, there are differences between Canadians and Americans. But Canadians and Americans are much more similar than like Americans and Chinese, right? That's what I'm saying. Obviously, there are differences between France and Quebec and French Canadians. There are differences, but they're like more or less on the same team, if you get my drift, right? So Canadians and Americans, we both speak English. We both watch American television. We do a lot of things, a lot of similar things. We go snowboarding and skiing. We play football. Well, in Canada, we play hockey because in Canada, most Canadians think that football sucks. So most Canadians think that football sucks. So that's why in Canada, we play hockey. So most Canadians actually play hockey because most Canadians think that football sucks. But anyways, so yeah, so Canada and America, we're much more similar than like America is with China, right? So yeah, Candace Owens, like thank you. You are doing a service for the world, exposing these corrupt French people. Anyways, hello, Jay. Welcome, Jay. Thank you. And welcome, Margaret. Margaret said hi. Hi, Margaret. Welcome, Jay. Jay said, North Korean and South Korean, Canada and America, same, same, but different. Yes. Yes. Basically, the fact that they speak French It's all about the fact that they speak French in Canada. The French Canadians, they have always elevated themselves to be better than the rest of people. In Canada for many years, it was like, oh, you should if you want to do what's good for your family, you should put your family in French school. You should make your family take French classes because French classes will open up career opportunities. No, it actually just open the career opportunities are there for French Canadians, regardless if they like it's a whole elite gang of French Canadians. They just do what they want. The French Canadians are just a gang. They're just a gang. They all give each other jobs. You know which kind of jobs I mean. Wait. Well, they both kind of jobs. They give each other jobs like workplace jobs. And then the other job anyways, they give each other jobs, French Canadians. They all work together. It's a big gang. And then they act as if because they speak French. And if anyone who's watched Justin Trudeau, I mean, if you just watch Justin Trudeau and his speeches, he's like, I am the Prime Minister of Canada, and Canada will be so much better than you because I speak French. And then he just said all that crap in English, and then he repeats it in French. He said all that crap in English, and then he repeats it in French, and he probably added some French, pretentious French words. So these people, they think they're better than you. And that's the whole reason that they speak French. They speak French as a way to distinguish themselves as the rich elites of Canada and that they're better than the hardworking average Joe from Alberta. Well, I'm not from Alberta, but you know. But those guys, did you see those guys on the oil fields? They work hard and they make a lot of money. The guys in Alberta that work in the oil fields, like they get all oily and stuff, they work hard, they make a lot of money. Those are hardworking guys. Like, look at these French guys go around and be like, my name's Francois, and I work at a digital marketing firm where we do print advertisement, and like, get a real job. Go plow a field. Go, dude, get a real job, dude. Actually, no, that's actually my job. No, no. No, I'm not a digital advertiser, but you know what I mean? All these French Canadians, they have these pretentious jobs. Like, I am the director of privacy in Canada. Canada has never had privacy. Canada has never had privacy. Seriously. Like, Canada is it's like communist China. There's cameras everywhere in Canada. But the cameras are not there to benefit you because there's been many times when people have gotten beat up by the Canadian police. And of course, when they go to request the cameras, oh, suddenly camera footage disappeared. Camera footage disappeared. So the cameras that are everywhere in Canada are not there to protect the Canadian citizens. Because every time Canadian citizens get beat up by the communist Canadian police, then if the Canadians go request the camera footage, suddenly the camera footage went missing. So yeah, there's no privacy in Canada. Canada knows if you're an American and you walk into Canada, you are being watched like 24/7. Okay. Especially if you're who's that guy? Peyton Manning, right? If you are an American football player like Peyton Manning, okay, all the gay guys are are watching him. No, no. No, seriously, everyone in Canada is watched. Like it's worse than Russia. It's literally Canada has become communist China. Okay? We even have Chinese people everywhere too. Okay? In fact, when you go to the border, I swear, when you go to the Canadian border, I swear, if you're an American and you go to the Canadian border, I swear, if you go to the Canadian border, like they're gonna be half of them will be Chinese. I swear. In fact, we have a TV show. I swear. How many times is that? We have it's called Canada Border Services, Canada Border Agency. It's a TV show, but it's based on the real Canadian border. This is a real TV show about the real Canadian border. And if you just watch those episodes, you'll see like 3 out of 10 of those guys are Chinese or Asian or something. So Canada is pretty much like communist China. And so all these people who say, oh, Canada and America are allies, that's BS. Canada is not allies with America. Canada has clearly been allies with China this whole time. We have Chinese restaurants everywhere. There's Chinese restaurants. There's Chinese music. There's horrible karaoke. dogs and cats go missing. Like Canada has always been in an alliance with communist China, always. I don't agree with everything that China does, and I have to say I love dogs and cats, and I don't like it when, but anyway, and I don't like Chinese food either because anyways, it's really greasy Chinese food. Chinese food is greasy, it's not healthy, and also it's made of dogs and cats. So I don't eat Chinese food. I don't listen to Chinese karaoke. Actually, you know what's worse than Chinese karaoke? Filipino karaoke. Hi, I'm from Philippines. I'm going to sing My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion. I'm from Philippines. The only thing worse than... But the Filipinos, though, they're a great time. They are really fun to hang out with until you find out that they do exactly the same stuff that China does. Until you find out that the Filipinos do the same stuff that China does, the Filipinos are very like wonderful to hang out with. But I wouldn't want to go to karaoke night at the Filipino bar. So basically, Canada and China have always been allies. In fact, Canada always befriends all of America's enemies. Every time America has a new enemy, Canada befriends these people. So Canada, when America had the Cuban Missile Crisis with Cuba, Canada invites all the Cubans, and suddenly in Canada they're all smoking Cuban cigars. When Canada, or no, when the United States had the issue with the Middle East after 9/11, actually Canada invited the Middle Eastern people before 9/11 happened. Yeah, Canada definitely, I remember. Canada invited those Muslim people before 9/11 happened. Yeah, Canada was full of Muslims before. Anyways, so when America had the issue with 9/11 in the Middle East, America just rolled out the red carpet for Middle Eastern people. And it was like Muslims everywhere. They all wear hijabs and burqas. I swear, if we go back to World War II, when America was having an issue with Nazi Germany, Canada, they was having Oktoberfest. And the Nazi Germans were just Oktoberfest and sausages and beer. Okay. Obviously, I wasn't there in World War II. Although I think if I did have a past life, I might have been German. I'm not sure. Anyways, obviously, did you see pictures of the German soldiers? Oh my God, those guys were so tall and big muscles and strong, the German soldiers. Did you see pictures of the German soldiers in World War II? Those guys were like real masculine, strong men that could like throw you against the wall. The Germans were like really strong. And how did they get all this technology before we did? Like the Germans, they had like blueprints for like special types of planes, stealth planes, and blueprints for rockets. And how did they get this advanced knowledge before other people did? Anyways, I'm not a German, and I'm not on Germany's side. Uh, well, I'm definitely not on Germany's side because I'm in Canada right now, right? But do I agree with the side of the Germans? Yes. But am I currently on German side in German territory? No. But am I loyal and allegiant to Mother Germany and the Germans? Yes. So basically, the Germans, and we befriended the Germans, the North Koreans. When America had that issue with North Korea, remember when they made that movie called The Interview with James Franco? And first off, anyone who watches a movie with James Franco, you're already like going downhill. Like you're already shooting your, anyways. So watching a movie with James Franco was your first mistake. Second, James Franco made a movie called The Interview. It was all about, it was supposed to be a comedy movie about assassinating the North Korean president. Okay, okay, let's look at it this way. If Canada made another movie, if Canada made a movie about assassinating an American president, would you Americans think it was funny? If Canada made another movie, if Canada made a movie about assassinating the American president, would you Americans think it's funny? So how come you Americans make a movie about assassinating the North Korean president and you expect the North Koreans to just think it's funny? Oh, just think it's funny. In fact, why not then just every country to prove a point Just make a movie about assassinating the American president. Hey, Germany, make a movie about assassinating the American president. Hey, France, make a movie about assassinating the American president. Hey, Russia, make another 20 movies about assassinating the American president. You see what I'm saying? So of course Americans like the North Koreans are pissed. You made a movie about assassinating their leader, North Korea's leader. So of course, after that whole incident with North Korea and they hacked Sony because Sony was the company that did it, put out the interview that was starring James Franco. And any movie that stars James Franco, you know that is a disaster and there's a nightmare. So anyway, then suddenly Canada was befriending the North Koreans. And of course, they're coming on over and they're pretending to be South Koreans. Of course, they're pretending to be South Koreans, but really they're North Koreans. Okay. There's all of these Korean nail salons, and you go there and they're all really suspicious. And you just assume they're South Koreans, but really they're North Koreans pretending to be South Koreans at the Korean nail salon. You know, you go in and they're not trying to haggle with you, and you're like, oh, they must not be Chinese. You go in and they're suddenly asking you all of these questions and stuff like that. In fact, they're even giving you a discount. You know they're North Korean when they're giving you a discount. They're giving you a discount. They're like doing your nails and filing your nails and everything. Then they're giving you a discount, and then they start asking you all these questions. They're like, oh, do you work for the FBI, or do you work for the Canadian government, or are you a military soldier? Like, you could tell that they're North Koreans pretending to be South Koreans at those nail salons, right? Trust me, I know. My former handler was a North Korean. So anyways, no, I'm just joking. So anyways, Canada befriended the North Koreans. Canada befriended, believe it or not, uh, Mother Russia and Putin. And Canada, who else did America? Oh, Japan. All right, okay. So Canada loves to remind the world that Americans dropped two nukes on Japan. It's really awful. It's really awful. The Canadians, they're really bad for this. They will constantly repeat and remind the entire world that America dropped two nuclear bombs on Japan, a country which is supposed to be right now America's allies. America dropped two nuclear bombs on Japan. And the Canadians will constantly bring this up, constantly repeat themselves, repeating the fact that America dropped two nuclear bombs on Japan. And the nuclear bombs killed millions of innocent Japanese families, which had nothing to do with World War II. Okay, those Japanese families that died in the war, they were Japanese families. They had nothing to do with the war. They were casualties. They were innocent civilians. And what is the definition of terrorism? The Americans love to accuse people of being terrorists. Well, the definition of terrorism is people attacking innocent civilians, right? That is the definition of terrorism. So what did effectively America do in World War II when they dropped two nuclear bombs on Japan, which killed millions of innocent Japanese families? That was terrorism by definition. So watch out for Canadians. Watch out for Canadians because they love to repeat and remind everyone that America dropped two nuclear bombs on Japan and World War II. And I don't even know why. I went to Japan and those Japanese people are so nice. They got sushi, they got video games, they got really inappropriate cartoons. No, I don't watch those hentai. I don't like those cartoons. I don't watch cartoons. Those are inappropriate. Like I even think they're inappropriate. And I have a filter. I tell jokes, but I have a filter. I will not watch those Japanese cartoons, especially the one with the octopus. You know the one with the octopus and the girl? Anyways, so I do not watch those Japanese cartoons. They're actually inappropriate. But anyways, they have sushi, they got video games, and they're really nice. The Japanese people are really nice. As long as it's not a girl with an octopus, the Japanese people are really nice people. And I kept thinking to myself, why would the United States of America drop two nuclear bombs on these people? And I flat out asked them. I was in Japan speaking Japanese. I was on an assignment working for Canada. You know what I mean? No, it's not what you think. Anyways, I was speaking Japanese and I asked them, I'm like, why would the Americans drop two nuclear bombs on you Japanese people? You Japanese people are so nice. And how are you like still allies with America, you know? And then I'm like, oh, you know, you guys would probably be much better allies with Canada. Everyone loves Canada, right? Come over to Canada's side. Everyone loves Canada. You'd be allies with Canada and Japan and or Russia and China and North Korea. Anyways, the Japanese people are really nice. The Germans are nice today. I don't really know for sure how the Germans were in World War II. Um, but I just know that, like, you know. And then, of course, who else? Okay, America made allies with Rosie O'Donnell. So after Trump publicly stated that he hates Rosie O'Donnell's guts, he said it in a debate. He constantly bickers back and forth with her. He was saying a few weeks ago that he wanted to remove the citizenship of Rosie O'Donnell. Uh, Canada suddenly was like rolling out the red carpet for Rosie O'Donnell. And then they actually heard Rosie O'Donnell speak. And then they're like, oh God, no, no, we thought you were someone else. We thought you were Roseanne. Roseanne at least was funny. So, anyways, no, so basically, what Canada does is they constantly befriend all of America's enemies. And so, for anyone who says that America and Canada are allies, this is not true. Especially after Canadian spies saw Putin's weapons, if you know what I mean. Like the rockets, you know, those supersonic, super hypersonic, whatever, sonic rockets that can like go up in space and then drop down from outer space into the United States. After Canadian spies saw that in Russia, we were like, we're gonna switch teams and fast. Privet, добро пожаловать. I'm Ruski. So, anyways, basically, yeah, Canada, we have always befriended all of America's enemies. I don't know why. I don't know why we always have to do that. We're backstabbers, Canadians. In fact, America, if you want to make Canada the 51st state, you're going to have to fight through China and Russia first, because we got Russia and China have already claimed Canada, by the way. Okay. Like you Americans, you thought you were so smart buying Alaska. You purchased Alaska and you took Alaska from Russia. Well, Russia and China were laughing because they took all of Canada. So you Americans, you thought you were being so smart. Oh, we're gonna like strong arm the Russians into a low ball deal and we're going to buy Alaska from Mother Russia. And then the Americans acquired Alaska. Well, Russia and China were laughing because they acquired Canada. And Canada is the second biggest country in the world. So Americans, if you want to make Canada the 51st state, you're going to have to go through Russians and Chinese people first. And if you get through them, we even got some Iranians and North Koreans in the back and Cubans. So Canada's set. We're set. Let's go to the comments because I just know that I am gonna people hate me. Anyways, so Roscoe came in and he said, you sound like a power bottom. No, no, dude, I am not any of those terms that you just said. I am a man, scientist. I am definitely not a bottom or a top. I'm not a super top. I'm not a surprise top. I'm not a superpower, double bottom, whatever. I'm none of those things. I am a person. I am a human being. I have real feelings and I matter. Okay. Like all lives matter. Comedian lives matter. All lives matter. I'm an all lives matter kind of person. Also, all spies matter. Anyways, I'm a real person, and I'm not a bottom. I'm not a top. I'm not whatever label you want to label me. I'm not a traitor. Okay, it was ruled by the judge that I'm not a traitor. Okay, so I'm not a traitor, and I am a really nice person. And if you just got to know me, actually don't get to know me. Just listen to the jokes and please don't report me. Anyways. Okay, let's go to another comment. Left there loonies came in and said, we all have the right to speak our thoughts. Nobody's wrong. Exactly. Exactly, left hair loonies. I am not wrong. I have the right to speak my thoughts. And my thoughts are this. This are my thoughts. The United States is like really going after France right now. Good. Good United States. Canada, we knew that those French people were freaks for a while now. Those French people in France, the Emmanuel Macron and Bridget Macron and that whole freaky relationship that they had. Canada has known for a while that France is up to some weird shit. Like how could Canada not know? We have French Canadians constantly going back to French and they're like, oh, I want to try my Quebec French in France and see if anyone will understand me. That's like been the thing for the last 20 years. All of these French Canadians, they're constantly like, oh, I can't wait to go to France and try my Quebec French and see if it's the same as the French French. Listen, French is the same everywhere. It's annoying, it's pretentious, and quite frankly, anyways. So French is the same everywhere. And basically, yeah, I don't know. There's all these people trying to say, oh, Quebec French is so different from French French. I don't. It all sounds the same to me. It all sounds annoying, stupid, and pretentious to me. So whatever Quebec French, if you're African French, Algerian French, whatever French, Belgium French, I don't really care. I don't speak French. I speak Mother Russian. I speak Russian. Привет, добро пожаловать. Мой родной язык английский, но я изучаю русский язык несколько лет. Привет, добро пожаловать на мой канал. Подпишитесь, пожалуйста. И давайте начнем поговорим позже об Trump. So Trump, Donald Trump. He definitely is not releasing the Epstein list. He's definitely on the Epstein list. That guy is up to something. Candace Owens, who is definitely a hero, and I think she's the hero because she's coming forward and she's exposing France. But Miss Candace Owens, and thank you for exposing France. France definitely should be exposed. But why is suddenly the Epstein list like, aren't you friends with Donald Trump? Like she was saying that Trump literally called Candace Owens to tell her to like, ease down on the French people. So hey, Candace Owens, if you really are friends with Donald Trump, can you tell him to release the Epstein list? Because like Canada, we gotta know, like the English Canadians, we gotta know who's else on this list. Aside from all of Quebec, we gotta know who else is on the Epstein list and the Diddy list and whatever creepy lists there are. We gotta know. So if Candace Owens, thank you for exposing France, because and we knew English Canadians knew about the creepy French agenda. But Candace Owens, can you please also tell your buddy Donald Trump to release the Epstein list, please? Can you call him? He called you. You must have his number. He called you. You even said, Candace Owens said on her show that Trump actually called her to talk to her about the situation with France. And you know how France is clearly getting everyone's pants. France is getting everyone's pants. They should do a slogan. They should do a slogan campaign. Keep France out of our pants. Keep France out of our pants. It should be a slogan because it's true. The French people, they love to get in everyone's pants apparently. So Candace Owens, since you have such a good relationship with Trump, can you call your buddy Trump and be like, hey, Trump, can you release the Epstein list? Or wait, actually, Candace Owens, I have a better idea. Get yourself invited to the White House, okay? As a friend, right? Purely platonic. Obviously, obviously, Trump would never be into you. Oh, that came out wrong. Sorry, that came out wrong. Okay. Trump is into beautiful supermodels like Melania. Oh my God, that came out worse. Okay. Trump would never date you because you're. Okay, no. Wait. Trump is a faithfully married man and would never cheat on his wife. Oh, that came out wrong too. Okay. Listen, Candace Owens, Trump would never date you. Trump would never marry you. Trump looks at you like a colleague. That's it. You are a colleague of Trump. You are like a business partner. Well, actually, I don't know if Trump would do business with you. Anyways, Candace Owens, can you get yourself invited to the White House? Can you go in the White House? And can you like casually walk around, maybe accidentally knock over a file stand full of files? You accidentally knock, it's accidental. You accidentally just, oh, I'm clumsy, and you knock over the files full of the Epstein files, and suddenly all of the files go out on the floor, and you're like, oh, I'll pick them up. And then you accidentally like run off with them, and then accidentally leak them to the media. If you did it all accidentally, as an accident, right? And make sure you don't have any accidents yourself when you're leaving the White House if Trump figures out what you're doing. But basically, Candace Owens, you really need to get those Epstein files. You need to do what you gotta do. If you gotta do Mission Impossible, like them, those Tom Cruise. Yeah, Tom Cruise. I almost said Tom Hanks. Anyways, they're both on the Epstein list probably. But if you have to be like Tom Cruise in those Mission Impossible movies, da na da na da na. Oh, what was the thing? Da 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 da. No, no, that's Inspector Gadget, right? Okay, anyways, Mission Impossible, whatever. If you have to be like in those Mission Impossible movies, and you gotta go like Mission Impossible style to get the Epstein files, then like you gotta do what you gotta do, Candace Owens. So get yourself invited to the White House. Obviously not as Trump's date because, get yourself invited to the White House, Candace Owens. Go meet with your buddy Trump and, try to persuade Trump to release the Epstein files, right? Or accidentally, if you just accidentally happen to knock them over on your way out of the White House and then they stumble, they go on the floor, and then you just accidentally pick them up and accidentally leave with them and forget that you had them in your bag and accidentally leak them to the media, then, accidents happen. Accidents happen, Candace Owens. Accidents happen. Okay, let's go back to comments. Okay, Tom came in. Hello, Tom. And Tom came in and said, everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but that doesn't mean free from being condemned, humiliated, or canceled for their opinion. The people doing that are also entitled to their opinions. No, I disagree with you because, first off, you have every right to not come in my live stream. That doesn't mean I'm being canceled. Even if I'm just talking to only one person and I have a person live stream, I still have the right to have my live stream. So it's, what do you mean by being canceled, right? If you mean by being canceled that some people, you have the right to remove someone from their live stream, now you're talking about communist China. Now you're talking Canadians language, right? But what I'm saying is like, obviously, if someone has free speech, then they have the right to say it. You don't have the right to listen. No one's saying you have the right to listen, but you can't take away their platform. So if the person has a zero, like if the person has a platform and no one comes, then that's fine. At least the person just has a platform and has their free speech, but you can't take away their platform. That's the difference. Now you're getting into communist China territory. And when you go to communist China, like they don't call it communist China for nothing, okay? Especially the Chinese people. If you've ever been hired to be a comedian to work at a Chinese restaurant, well, okay, I went in one time to a Chinese restaurant and I was like, hey, I'm like, do you have any jobs? They're like, dishwasher. I'm like, what about comedian? They're like, dishwasher. I'm like, I'm a good comedian. They're like, dishwasher. So I spent 2 years as a dishwasher at a Chinese restaurant. Eventually, I convinced the manager to let me be a comedian. And so one of the nights I was working as a comedian and I was like, hey guys, the Chinese food looks great. It smells wonderful. I love egg rolls and stuff like that. And I love the chow mein and all that stuff. And then I said, hey guys, so what do you guys think about the Chinese president? Do you guys like think he's a dictator or not, right? And then the next thing you know, they like their faces. And I said, oh, wait a minute. I said, this is funny. Do you think the Chinese president is a little dictator or a big dictator? Get it? Do you think the president of China is a little dictator or a big dictator? And you should have seen the faces of those Chinese restaurant people. They were like practically spitting out their egg rolls. They were that's and when Chinese people are spitting out their egg rolls, it is a sign of how funny you are. It is a sign of how funny you are. No, I got my ass beat. Anyways, they really got ninjas. The China, I wasn't expecting Chinese ninjas to come out. See, sometimes stereotypes are true. Not all stereotypes are false. They really had Chinese ninjas at that restaurant, and they kicked my ass and they threw my out. Everybody was kung fu fighting. Anyways, so yeah, you can't really tell jokes to communist China. And if you want to live in communist China, then be my guest. Go live there. But this is Canada. Okay, this we have free speech up here. As long as we're working for communist China, doing everything communist China wants, helping communist China, Canada has free speech. Okay, so no, I love communist China. I love the Chinese. They are really great and they're wonderful people. And I just wouldn't go to a Chinese restaurant though, because I'm a dog lover. I love dogs. I love cats, and I just will not go to a Chinese restaurant for many reasons. Also because I'm actually not allowed to go back. No, just don't try to do comedy at a Chinese restaurant, all right? Or a Russian restaurant. Don't go to a Russian restaurant and be like, hey, like let's have a bunch of shots of vodka. Because when you're at a Russian restaurant and you're at a Russian bar, when you've been drinking a lot, you actually you start to loosen up, and when you're drunk, you really say what's on your mind, right? And like me, so one time I got really really drunk at a Russian bar, right? And I was in the bar and I was like, oh, give me more vodka, right? Give me more vodka. And I said to this beautiful Russian woman, I said, "Do you have a boyfriend?" Right? And she said, "No." And I said, "Oh, okay. Why don't you have a boyfriend?" She said, "Oh, she can't really find the right person, blah 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 blah." Okay. So then she turned around and she asked me if I have a girlfriend, and I said, "No, I don't have a girlfriend. I can't find anyone, whatever." So then I asked her, I said, "Oh, do you want to go like on a date?" Right? And we went on this date, right? And I was on the date with her. And you know how sometimes guys accidentally mistake Russians, women, beautiful Russian women for hookers and prostitutes. So I was on this date with this beautiful Russian woman, and I didn't mistake her for a Russian prostitute. I said to her, I said, "Hey, you work for the Kremlin, right? You work for Putin. I really need a job. Like, I've been out of a job for years, and I watched all those James Bond movies and all of those other movies about Russians working for the FSB and Russian spies. Do you have any jobs right now in the Kremlin? Because I really need a job. I'll do anything Putin wants. Like, I'll wash Putin's car. I will, So, anyways, no, she didn't work for the Kremlin. She was just an everyday Russian. So don't ever say that to a Russian. Don't offer to work for Putin and offer to work for the Kremlin. Unless they actually do work for the Kremlin, then especially don't offer to work for the Kremlin. No. So basically, yeah, Russia, China, those countries, very dangerous countries. Also, North Korea, Cuba, California is a very dangerous country. Also, Mexico. Oh, the Mexican cartel. Oh, don't even get me started about the Mexican cartel. And I'm definitely not going to get started about the Mexican cartel. So, let's talk about Germany. Germans. I already did the Germans. Okay, let's go back to comments. Bricker came in and Bricker said, should the U.S. be concerned with Russia's coalition with Iran? If Iran possesses weaponized nuclear material and the U.S. positions as assets to interrogate Russia, yes, I think America should be always watching the Russians, but not in that way. I don't think the Russians are actually going to use nuclear weapons. I think the Russians are going to rob Americans blind. I think the Russians will steal money. Okay, so one time I'll give you an example. I was at a casino. This was a while ago, a casino, and I was like at the slot machine, and I was playing at the slot machine, and suddenly this casino game, the slot machine, went into a bonus round, and I'm a bit slow, so when I see like animations on the screen, I go like ha, like potato, right? So I'm a bit slow, so I saw these wonderful animations come on the slot machine, and I was watching the slot machine, and then the next thing you know, someone behind me starts clapping in my ear, like clapping right in my ear, like ow, clapping. And he's like, hit it, 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 hit it. And I turn around and it's a white guy, right? But he spoke perfect English. And he was a white guy. And I looked at him and I'm like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like, you're clapping in my ear. So he's like, hit it, right? Like, hit the button for like the bonus game, right? And I go to turn back to the slot machine. I go to finish the bonus game. Then when the bonus game's finished, I go to cash out and it's zero. There's a zero balance. Like, how did I go from winning a bonus game to having a zero balance? I go to look behind me. There's the three musketeers are standing there watching me laughing their butts off. Then I figured it out. It took me a while, but I figured it out, okay? Sometimes sometimes it takes people a few minutes to figure things out, sometimes even 20 minutes. So 3 years later, I figured out what happened. 3 years later, those guys, the one guy came clapping in my ear to distract me. I turn away from the slot machine to look back at the guy. What the hell are you doing? The other guy of his friend, they were probably Russians, because the Russians are smart like that. The other guy went and cashed out my lot and it just takes a second, eh? Just takes to hit the cash out button. That ticket comes out. It just flies out, that ticket. So as soon as you press the cash out button, the ticket just comes right out. So it just takes a second to cash out someone's slot machine. So when the one guy was clapping in my ear to distract me, I turned back like, what the heck are you doing? The other guy was cashing out my slot machine. I go to turn back to the machine, and that explains the zero balance after winning a big bonus game. I don't even know how much money they stole. They probably got away with a lot of money, right? Which is like a lot of money in their Russian rubles, right? So that's basically the Russians. They're like thieves, right? And how did I know they were Russian? I'll tell you how I knew they were Russian. Because I didn't really know they were Russian, but this is how. I'll tell you how I figured out they're Russian. So that casino, I went to go call the manager of the casino, and the manager of the casino was Russian, full on Russian accent. And I explained what happened, and I said, please pull your cameras, etc. And he said no. And by the way, when I said 3 years later, I figured out what happened, that was a joke. I figured out what would happen 20 minutes later. So it was about 20 minutes, half an hour later. I figured out half an hour. I'm not that stupid. I'm pretty stupid anyways. Well, I mean, I got distracted by it anyways. So it was actually 23 minutes later. I had talked to the manager of the casino, and he was Russian. And he had a heavy accent. And I said, can you please pull the cameras? About 20, 30 minutes ago, these thugs robbed me. And he's like, no. He's like, no, really? No. That would never happen in one of my casinos. I said, okay, well, let's get the cameras and we'll verify that. So can we get the cameras? He's like, no, nobody robbed you. I said, okay, well, we can just verify that by looking at the cameras. Can I please see the cameras? He's like, no, I'm sorry. If you want, you can call the police, right? I go to call the police and I'm like, okay, like, got to report this Russian manager. Sorry, Russian manager, but you're about to be fired from this casino. I go to call the police in America, and then the next thing they're like, hello, would you like to be connected to the police force, right? So anyways, basically, long story short, the police are corrupt. The Russian manager of the casino was corrupt. Those thugs, they got away with however much money they got from me. I don't know how much that machine actually paid out. It could have paid anywhere from $50 to like $5,000. So, but the moral of the story is don't go to casinos at all, because gambling is just bad. Gambling is bad. And I definitely was gambling that day when I was in that Chinese restaurant asking the Chinese people whether or not the Chinese president was a big dictator or a little dictator. I was gambling that day. Definitely gambling. Thank God I got out with my life. So let's go back to comment. Silent one came in that they were lovers. Who were lovers? Oh, Trump and Epstein were lovers? Really? Who was top and who was bottom? No. I'm only asking that because someone came in and said, "Oh, you sound like a super bottom, whatever tower." I'm like, I'm not a bottom. I'm not top. I am not a figurine. Okay, I'm not like one of those toys that it's like comes out in pieces. It's top and bottom. I'm not a figurine. I'm not a toy. I'm not a GI Joe soldier like that has a top and bottom. I am a person. I'm not a top. I'm not a bottom. I'm not a power bottom. None of that stuff. I am like a person. I'm a human being with human feelings. Okay, I was just crying the other day to my North Korean handler, telling my North Korean, no, I'm just joking. I don't work for the North Koreans. They don't pay enough. Anyways, the Russians, they pay good. Anyways, so yeah, I'm not. Anyways, so Trump and Epstein, eh? Yeah, I don't know. I don't. They were lovers. I doubt it. I don't think they were lovers. Cause like, look at Epstein. Like, if you're gonna go gay, actually, wait, look at Trump. Oh, they're both ugly. They're hideous. No, but seriously, if you're no. Now I know because if Trump has all that money, if Trump's gonna go gay and he has all that money, he's not gonna go for like a kosher, a kosher like one of those gross kosher meals. You know those kosher meals that are like really gross and kosher. Anyways, he's not gonna spin the dreidel. He's not gonna go spinning the dreidel with an ugly guy, if you know what I mean. Anyways, so he's not going to bar mitzvah. Anyways, if Trump has all that money and Trump was gonna go gay, Trump was gonna get like a David Beckham or get like Brad Pitt or something. Like Trump's not gonna go for Epstein if he has all that money. Like look, he has Melania. Trump would go for a male version of Melania. Okay, Trump would go for like a hot guy. He's not gonna go for Epstein. So that the person who just came in and said that Epstein and Trump were lovers, I don't believe it because I think if Trump had the money, no, Trump has the money, but I'm just saying if Trump really wanted to a guy, he would go for a good guy, you know. So he'd probably go for like Peyton Manning, like the football quarterback of the American Football League, or maybe he would go for like who's the guy who played Captain America? Chris Evans. Did you see Chris Evans, the guy who played Captain America? You know, be like, hey, Captain America, you're in Canada now. Your powers don't work here in Canada. Anyways, let's go back to the comments. Tom B came in and said they were standing. I don't know. Okay, let's go up a bit. Oh, Bricker came in and said he's trying to get my opinion on significant global events. That is my opinion on significant global events. Global events. Candace Owens needs to seriously release, get those Epstein files released, and soon. So, and the other thing that's going on right now is so. Oh, and I was gonna, well, I don't really want to talk about China taking over the world. No, I did that the other day. I'm gonna talk about the Middle East. Let's talk about the Middle Eastern people. I haven't done them in a while. The Middle Eastern people, so they have all of these creepy laws about like women for women. It's mainly for women. I guess it's great to be a guy in the Middle East as long as you're not gay. So I guess it wouldn't be great for me. The Middle East, right? It's definitely not good for women, and if you're in the Middle East, because they have all of these restrictive laws, like crazy stuff, like and like one time I wouldn't believe it. I saw a Muslim psychiatrist. Like, I'm not saying I saw a Muslim psychiatrist as in I was seeing a Muslim psychiatrist, as if I was, why would I date? Why would I date a Muslim psychiatrist, right? I need to know what I'm dating. Okay, I'm not going to date something wrapped in a sheet. I don't like to be surprised in that way, if you know what I mean. So I wasn't dating a Muslim psychiatrist, and I wasn't seeing one either, as in I see them down the street. I was seeing a Muslim psychiatrist because I needed to hire a Muslim psychiatrist to teach me Arabic so I could go do a special job. And anyways, so anyways, it wasn't my psychiatrist. My psychiatrist is German. No, no, I don't have a psychiatrist. I'm just joking. But anyways, basically, a Muslim psychiatrist to be like, imagine a Muslim woman who wraps herself in a sheet and prays to an imaginary thing in the sky, to some Allah, and then chants all those things, whatever, and then all you can see is their eyes, wraps themselves in a sheet. Imagine a Muslim psychiatrist, and then she calls other people crazy. Be like, oh, you're a woman who like wears a halter top? You're crazy. You're like, oh, you're a man who drinks beer and watches football? You're crazy. Like, oh, you people, you sing the American national anthem? Like, you're crazy, right? So imagine a Muslim woman, a Muslim psychiatrist who wears a black sheet around her body and then like calls other people crazy, right? Well, I guess she's kind of though right about Trump and the Epstein list. I mean, look at Donald Trump and the Epstein list. Look at Epstein Island. I guess they're all crazy in the White House. And then she's kind of right about Bill Clinton. I mean, that guy stuck his thing in everything, you know. I wouldn't be surprised if he stuck his thing in the White House cactus. I mean, if I were going on a tour of the White House and I were going in the Oval Office, I would be like, I want this Oval Office to be disinfected. 8 years of Bill Clinton, you know, he did Monica everywhere. He did Monica there. He did Monica there. He did everything everywhere. You know, so I would be like, no. So basically, yeah, I guess, and then I guess the Muslim psychiatrist would be right about the fact that Obama was a nice guy anyway.